Sangye Churdak Soki Chognam La Jantu Badu Dagi Kyab Suchi Dagi Chunyengi Pesolam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupa Shu Sangye Churdak Soki Chognam La Jantu Badu Dagi Kyab Suchi Dagi Chunyengi Pesolam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupa Shu Sangye Churdak Soki Chognam La Jantu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi Chunyengi Pesolam Ki Rola Penchir Sange Drupasho.
Okay, so just 2 or 3 minutes meditation on the breath. Okay, so now we generate bodhicitta motivation for this session. Think, the purpose of my life is to lead all sentient beings from suffering to enlightenment. in order to do that, first I have to reach enlightenment myself. Therefore, I'm going to study Atisha's text, A Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, and its commentaries to learn how to do that in order to become enlightened for the sake of all sentient beings. Okay, so hi, good morning. Actually, it's good if we can start our day when we get up, first thing in the morning. We think something like that. Normally, I'd forget, but someone gave me this amulet that I put on. I don't wear it to bed because otherwise you roll on top of it and lie on it and stuff. But I hang it by my bed and then put it on in the morning, and then I remember that I'm leading my life and this whole day to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Just because I take it off doesn't mean I'm still not doing it. It says, collection of powerful sutras and mantras amulet. So inside this, there's hundreds of different sutras and mantras. So like that. And then we take it off at night, think I'm going to sleep in order to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So, especially at my age, you don't know if you're going to wake up in the morning. So go to sleep with bodhicitta motivation and die in that state. Maybe there's a glimmer of hope, at least not being born in the lower realms. Okay, so that's that. The other thing I just wanted to do quickly is this. I always screw this up. This is a good one. Just do. Sorry. Okay, let me do it this way, sorry. Actually, this is not a bad way of doing what I'm trying to do, which is, so if you look in your chat, I've put some links in there. And I've just put another one in. So that, can you see your chat? The last one, it's not very clear. I picked the wrong website, but anyway, can you see that Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga booklet, the cover?
Yeah.
So that's basically the visualization. Lama Tsongkhapa, you see above Lama Tsongkhapa, there's supposed to be, you can find better, if you know what you're looking for now, you can find better clearer images of it if you want to. But above Lama Tsongkhapa and his two disciples, Kherabje, Gyaltsabje, there's Toshita, and you can see that they're on a white heaped curd-like cloud, like we said in the prayer, and it's coming from the heart of Matreya, who's the central figure. And the two side figures there, I think Atisha and I can't remember the other one. Not sure. Maybe Nagarjuna or Manjushri. I can't remember. Anyway, so that I just want to. That's the visualization. Then, if you look, otherwise, if you look in the chat, ignore the first one because that should say that's the same as the second. That link is the same as the second one. Geshe should say Geshe Rapton. So that's Geshe Rapton's commentary. I'm going to be looking at that today. So if you want to, maybe someone can. Okay, hang on a sec. So then the next one, Serkong Rinpoche, his commentary. We read through part of that last week, and then there's Lama Zopa Rinpoche's commentary online. It's also in this book, which I'm not sure is still available. It was published in Kopan in Nepal a while ago. I don't know if you can still get that or not, but it's online at that Lama Zopa Rinpoche link. So it's quite an extensive commentary on this practice.
Nick, I think, I don't know about others, but I think some of us are not seeing those in the chat.
The links?
We saw the first link, just the first link is what I see.
What is that? Which is
the first link was the picture to abebooks.com.
Why? Ed said he could see the links before.
Yeah, I can see two links before the picture, Serkong Rinpoche and Geshe Rapton.
Yeah.
I see Geshe Rapton, Serkong Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and then I see the Abode pictures link.
Who's that, Peter?
Please echo the first two links prior to the book picture.
It depends when you log in, does it? Oh, okay. So, well, let me do this one again. So I'm just doing, how about that? You see that one? It says the Guru Yoga of Toshita's Deva host.
Yep.
Okay, so that's Geshe Rapton's commentary. If you go there, there's links to, actually there you'll see links to Serkong Rinpoche and Lama Zopa Rinpoche on that link itself, so that's probably enough. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So I don't know, Bob, if you can screen share that.
Yep. Let's see.
Okay, so yeah, so to see there, you can see Lama Zopa Rinpoche link and Serkong Rinpoche's commentary, which we did last week. That's there, right? And then Guru. So just scroll down a little bit. Okay, so that'll do. I go back to the beginning.
Go back to start right here.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's, I'm going to do that. Okay, so we've run out of time. So let's just do the dedication and, no, I'm kidding. All right. So we're literally all on the same page. So I just want to harp on this because Ed also pointed out that apparently I talked about this, actually it's in January 2019. I think there's something on YouTube when Geshe Tenli was in India that year, and I had to do some of the Sundays. Apparently I talked about this then. It was in January 2019. It's on the Kurukulla YouTube channel. So the reason I'm just harping on this is because it's a very important practice, especially in our tradition. Guru Yoga is like extremely important practice in itself, and the way we generally practice it is with this little sadhana, the Ganden Lagema, and you know, and as I said last week, it's this was one of the very early retreats Lama Yeshe asked us to do. The first one being Vajrasattva 3-month purification retreat. And that's, I think, still number one. If, you know, it's kind of hard to get away for 3 months for most of us, I guess. But yeah, I don't know how I mean, if you're kind of working full time and you have family responsibilities and all that, it must be very difficult. And but as I also said, I don't know, recently, in Lama Yeshe's book, published by Wisdom, Becoming Vajrasattva, Lama Yeshe explains how you can do the 3-month retreat at home, except it's spread over maybe 6 to 12 months if you do 2 sessions a day, one in the morning and one in the evening. So that's a kind of workaround to recite 100,000 Vajrasattva long mantras in the context of the practice or the sadhana. But, you know, if we're serious about our practice, and we should be, because really Dharma, you know, preparing for our next life and future lives is the most important thing we can do with this life. Since we've obtained this life with great difficulty, we don't remember, but, you know, looking at how, well, you know, how difficult it is in this life to even find 3 months to do the basic purification retreat. You know, doing that isn't enough to ensure a better future rebirth. It's just the very beginning of our practice. So to have received this life, we must have done an incredible amount of practice in previous lives and worked really hard. And if we don't make the most of all that hard work in the previous lives that brought us to this one, if we waste this life, you know, all that previous effort is not completely down the drain, but, you know, fair bit. So, you know, it's a disaster if we let that happen. So somehow we have to figure out a way to do these things. You know, somehow, you know, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, it was in, you know, we were hanging around in India and Nepal, and there are hundreds of us there going to teachings and doing retreats. And I don't know how it is there now. I think it was still there's lots of people, lots of Westerners there doing these things. It seemed a bit easier back then. You know, people could leave their jobs and stay in India for 1, 2, 3 years and then go back to the West and find a job or go back to school or whatever. It seems a little more difficult to do that these days. But even then I noticed that it was especially difficult for Americans. You know, here there seemed to be a lot more pressure to stay on the success track and accomplish things and get a good good job and all that. And even, when the Lamas started going to the West, when they went to Australia, for example, the first time, there was a 1-month course, just like a Copan course. And the next, that was 74. And then when they went back in 75, there was another 1-month course. And, there were more people coming to those courses than were even going to the Copan courses, a couple of hundred. So when it came time to organize a similar course, the Lamas made their first extensive visit to the States in 75. And we tried to put together a 1-month course, and it was impossible. Nobody, even we managed to put together a 3-week course in California. And even then, the course had to be sort of in 2 parts. It had to be first 2 weeks for people who couldn't stay for 3 weeks. And then there was a 3rd week when like half the people left, and the others who remained finished up doing 3 weeks. But nobody could contemplate doing even a 4-week course, even here in the States, without people having to travel to Nepal. So, so somehow our priorities aren't quite straight. Anyway, okay, so I think you get the point. But I still say, if, of course, if you can't get 3 months off, then maybe it's difficult to take 2 or 3 years off. But if it's possible, I still strongly recommend going to Nepal, going to India, and staying there for 2 or 3 years and studying with lamas, and just living there with Tibetans in Dharamsala or Nepal, going to teachings, doing retreats, doing pilgrimages. It's, so blissful. I think it's worth taking the shot. And, it's a lot cheaper to live over there for 2 or 3 years. I mean, I don't know what obligations you have here. If you've got mortgages or things like that, it's a little more difficult, obviously. But anyway, like that. So again, this is one of the important retreats to do. Again, you could do this at home. Even you're doing 1 session in the morning, ideally before dawn. Get up early, 4 or 5, and clean your room and set up the altar. I think he talks about that, and then and do at least 1 session. And even if it takes a few months to complete reciting 100,000 miktemas, the Lama Tsongkhapa prayer we do, it's called the Migtema. Of course, that's definitely worth doing. Okay, so looking at this, Geshe-la says, today the teaching will be a brief discourse on the practice of Guru Yoga called Ganden Lhagema. Both Ganden Lhagema and the Guru Puja. So we do the Guru, as I said, we do the Guru Puja twice a month. We do it on Zoom these days, and not so many people show up, but it's again, a very important practice. And some of us have a commitment to do it twice a month anyway, as a result of some of the initiations we've taken. So that's also a very important practice. So they're Guru Yogas, both your Guru Yoga in connection with Lama Tsongkhapa. The only difference between them is in the elaboration of the words. In meaning, they're exactly the same. The qualities we need to develop most are wisdom, compassion, and power. The practice of this Guru Yoga in connection with Lama Tsongkhapa is the best method to accomplish all three. Through the practice of this Guru Yoga, we can accomplish these three attributes of the Buddha, particularly his wisdom. So, Lama Tsongkhapa is said to be an emanation of Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom. So that's why, particularly his wisdom. Since you've all come here with the will to practice Guru Yoga, if you listen carefully and practice it every day, it'll be very beneficial for you. I think Geshe Rapton gave this, I'm not sure where he gave this teaching, maybe at his house to a small group of people. It was in 1975. Or maybe he gave it at Toshita Center, but he says something later on that makes me doubt that. In ultimate nature, Lama Tsongkhapa is form combined with wisdom, power and compassion of every Buddha. When Lama Tsongkhapa manifests in the wrathful form of a highest Yoga Tantra deity, it's Yamantaka. So when we do the Guru Puja, there's a part that we usually skip when we're doing it in public. With general audience, there's a part where we generate ourselves as the deity Yamantaka. But you can only do that if you've received the initiation of Yamantaka. When he appears in the peaceful form of Bodhisattva or a Buddha, it's Manjushri. When he appears in the form of a human being as a master guru of many sentient beings, it's Lama Tsongkhapa. What we see on the altar is a statue of Lama Tsongkhapa. So I guess he had a statue of Lama Tsongkhapa on his altar. I guess you're up there. The full life story of Lama Tsongkhapa is beyond explanation. It comes in such a big volume that cannot be finished in a few hours. So if you've been to Kurukulla Center in the Gompo, we have, and I have a full set in my office here. There's a set of, I think, 16 or 17 tankas. These are reproductions. And each one is, there's a central figure of Lama Tsongkhapa with different mudra. And then surrounding it, there are all these different scenes from his life, from his biography. And under each scene, there's Tibetan writing explaining what it is. And I've been trying for years to get someone to translate those, but haven't succeeded so far. Anyway, so so you can see that there are all these different paintings with lots of scenes from Lama Tsongkhapa. So altogether, there may be over 100 little scenes from his life in this collection of tangas. It's not necessary at this time to give you a full biography of Lama Tsongkhapa. Lama Tsongkhapa is one with Manjushri. Therefore, the actual nature, the essential nature of Lama Tsongkhapa is the wisdom of the Buddha. There are various ways of accomplishing and increasing wisdom, but this method, the practice of Guru Yoga in connection with Guru Manjushri, is the best method. It's the supreme method for the accomplishment of wisdom. Many people think that this planet on which we live, this small earth, is the only world, the center of the universe, or the only world with beings. People may think this, but it's not right. There are countless worlds, smaller and larger than this, countless realms of beings other than this earth on which we live. There are countless impure realms like this one, where beings are endowed with suffering, completely oppressed with suffering, karma, and delusion, and so forth. There are countless such worlds in the universe. And also there are countless pure worlds, pure realms where beings are free from this kind of suffering. among these pure realms, the Buddha heavenly abode of Toshita, so that's the one that's above Lama Tsongkhapa in those paintings. The Buddha heavenly abode of Toshita is one of such pure realms where beings are separate from all the gross forms of suffering and their cause, and even the word suffering does not exist. But it's not the Toshita that's a few yards away. So he was making a little joke. So his Geshe, actually the first property in the FPMT outside of Kopan in Nepal was this Toshita. It was called Toshita Retreat Center. I think it's called Toshita Meditation Center now. It's in Dharamsala, way up high on the mountain. So I don't know if any of you have been to Dharamsala, but there's kind of the Indian village of Dharamsala, and then above it is a small settlement. It was small, fairly big now, called McLeod Ganj. And above that, it was sort of a what do they call them? The British called them hill towns or something. So in the summer, when it got really hot in Delhi and down in the plains, the British used to retreat to the mountains, to McLeod Ganj or Simla or Manali, different places up in the Himalayas to get away from the heat. And so there are a lot of the Raj houses there that still exist. And Toshita was one of the early British Raj houses. So originally when the Tibetans were given land and encouraged to go somewhere by Nehru after they'd fled Tibet in 59 and 60, His Holiness finished up going to Dharamsala. So he first lived in a place called the Swag Ashram, which was just a little bit above McLeod Ganj. So there's Dharamsala here on the mountain, which is already fairly high, and then above that is McLeod Ganj, and then above that was the Swag Ashram, and above that was a house called Naraji Kot. So His Holiness lived in the Swag Ashram first, and then above that, in what became Lama Yeshe's Toshita Center, Naraji Kot, that's where His Holiness Trijang Rinpoche lived, His Holiness's junior tutor and the root guru of Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And then across from Toshita was an old Indian house called Chopra House. Well, I guess it was built by the British originally. And that's where His Holiness Ling Rinpoche lived, His Holiness' senior tutor. And then right near there was a little house where Geshe Rabten lived. So when he says the Toshita we're talking about is not the one that's a few yards away, he was referring to Lama Yeshe's Toshita Center. So after a fairly short time, His Holiness left the Swag Ashram and he went to what's now his residence in McLeod Ganj. And so the whole area is roughly called Dharamsala. So His Holiness's palace, and then they built the main temple there, the Tsuglakang, which is near His Holiness's residence. And just below that, there's the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, where the monks studied philosophy. And, some of the translators we know and love studied there. Geshe, the first Western Geshe Georges Dreyfus, who's now a professor at Williams College. Georges Dreyfus, Sangye Samdrup, he studied at the dialectic school, and Gareth Sparham, who translated Khunu Lama Rinpoche's In Praise of Bodhicitta and Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary on the 50 verses of Guru devotion, on the tantric vows, sorry, and Gavin Kilty, who's doing a lot of translation for Wisdom Publications with their library of Tibetan classics. Gavin is he's translated some other books that Wisdom have published. So a lot of these Western translators studied at the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, and some of them monks and some of the lay people. The first Western female Geshe, the German nun, what's her name? Geshe Wangmo, Tenzin Wangmo, is it? I don't know. She studied at the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics. So a lot of important, and of course, so many Tibetan monks. And most of them had a teacher called Gen Losang Gyatso, and he was murdered along with two of his students in his room at the Buddhist Dialectics by some fanatics from, I think, sent by the Chinese from Tibet. Anyway, that's another whole story. So all this developed over the decades after 1960. And then His Holiness Trijang Rinpoche moved down to Lower Dharmas, to Dharamsala, where they built the Tibetan library. So there was the village of Dharamsala, it's actually called Lower Dharamsala, and then there was Upper Dharamsala, which is not that much higher, but there was a Tibetan library there, and His Holiness Trijang Rinpoche moved there from Narajikot, and then when he moved, Lama Yeshe bought that house, which became Toshita Retreat Center, and that's what Geshe Rapin's referring to. So he lived nearby there. Generally speaking, Toshita is a Deva realm, a God realm. There are many different Deva worlds, and ordinary Toshita is one of the Deva worlds. So I think we talked about that when we looked at Thupten Gyatso's book on the different, when he described the different realms here. So I don't know if you remember this, but it was a few weeks ago. But in the so there, you know, we always talk about the 6 realms of samsara, the 3 upper realms and the 3 lower realms. You know, the hell realms, animal realm, preta realm, lower realms, and the human realm, and the demigods and the god realms. But we also sometimes talk about the 3 realms, which are the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. So we live in the desire realm, and that encompasses the hell beings, the hungry ghosts, the animals, so those 3 lower samsaric realms, and then it encompasses the human realms. So, you know, we're living in the so-called desire realm. Then there are the asuras, or the demigods, so their realm also in the desire realm. And then in the upper, in the desire realm, there are desire realm gods, or devas, or suras. There are 6 levels. So it's so those are the heaven of the 4 great royal lineages, the heaven of the 33. So the heaven of the 33 is where the Buddha is said to have gone to teach Dharma to his mother, who passed away at his birth, Maya Devi. And coming up soon, I think on the 27th, it's in 3 days' time, there's one of the 4 great Buddhist holidays called Lama Duchen, and that commemorates the Buddha's descent from the heaven of the 33 after giving teachings to his mother. So above that's the heaven without combat. Then the next one's the joyous. So these 6 Deva realm, desire realm devas are divided into earth dwelling and sky dwelling. So the earth dwelling are these first 2, the heaven of the 4 great royal lineages and the heaven of the 33. And then the sky dwelling, there's the heaven without combat, the joyous heaven, which is Toshita. Then there's the heaven enjoying own emanations and the heaven controlling others' emanations. So this is, so here, Geshe Rabten saying, there are many different Deva worlds, and ordinary Toshita is a Deva realm. So this one, the second of the 4 sky-dwelling Devas. There are many different Deva worlds, and ordinary Toshita is one of the Deva worlds. Toshita Buddha abode belongs to and is part of the ordinary Toshita Deva land, but it's separate and much higher in reality and in essence. So it's actually above the ordinary Toshita. It's in the higher realms of Toshita, of which we're speaking, the one that's separate from the ordinary Deva land Toshita, that Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and many other beings live. They're all completely free from suffering. Of course, the Buddhas are completely free from suffering, but even the Bodhisattvas and other unenlightened beings are much higher and free from these gross obstacles. By the blessing of the environment itself, it's easy for these beings to practice Dharma and to progress and develop their minds. Here, virtuous qualities of mind such as compassion, love, and so forth are easy to generate and increase. So it's a purely heavenly abode where beings are free from all obstacles and suffering and endowed with everything necessary for spiritual development. So when we talk about pure lands or pure realms, there are 2 kinds. There's ones in which you can receive enlightenment, and there are ones in which you can't receive enlightenment. You can progress on the Bodhisattva path there and get different teachings and realize different things, but you can't reach enlightenment. So often when, I don't know if you know about the FPMT site called the Prayers for the Dead. I've mentioned it before. It's fpmt.org/PFD, Prayers for the Dead. So when somebody dies, especially when someone with whom you're connected dies, you can go to that site and you can request prayers for them to be made. So that person's name is added to a list which is given to His Holiness the Dalai Lama to pray for, and also it goes to Lama Zopa Rinpoche's little community in his house in Aptos in California, and then they make tsatsas, little votive tablet things, and stupas, and they do different prayers for those people who've died. And then also the Tibetan Medical Center in Dharamsala in McLeod-Ganj will send you a blessing cord and some little money pills blessed by His Holiness. And usually it's good if you can make a small offering, $10, $20 or whatever you like. And you can also sign up sort of for the mailing list there. So then every day or a couple of days, you're sent an email with the names of the latest people who've died, who've been asked, for whom prayers have been requested. And so Rinpoche says, it's good to get that, to remind ourselves that, one day we'll be on that list. If our kind friends remember to put us there. And and sometimes it's the way you find out that, people or, the parents of people or something have died. But also, as well as reminding us of our own impending mortality, our own impending death, also we can pray for those people. So the way Rinpoche says to pray is to think, may these people who've just died and the previous ones on the list, in fact, all sentient beings, so you make it as broad as possible, may these people be born in a pure land where they can receive enlightenment. So specify that. And if not, if they can't be born if they don't have the karma, merit to be born in a pure land where they can receive enlightenment, may they receive a perfect human rebirth. So not may they be born in another pure land where you can't receive enlightenment, even though that would be a great place to be. But if you can't reach enlightenment there, it's better to receive a perfect human rebirth like this one. So may they be born in pure land where they receive enlightenment. If not, may they be born, receive a perfect human rebirth, meet holy Mahayana Guru, practice Dharma, never again be born in the lower realms. Especially important to emphasize that, and quickly reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So every time you see this list, you can make that prayer, and good for them and good for you. So I think Toshita is one of the pure lands where you can reach enlightenment, also Vajrayogini is pure land. Also the qualities of Toshita pure land, such as beautiful flowers. So I talked last week about practicing to try and visualize a pure land. Also the qualities of Toshita pure land, such as beautiful flowers, lakes, mountains, and so forth there, are not just ordinary substantial phenomena, but manifestations of the Buddha mind, reflections of the great beings who live there. The qualities of this abode are beyond the comprehension of ordinary beings. Even the sound of the leaves blown by the wind give teachings on emptiness, bodhicitta, and so forth. And the songs of the beautiful birds in the trees are also Dharma teachings. From here in India, the direction of Toshita is to the north, high above us in space. So he may be biased towards Tibet. At present, the Lord of this abode is Buddha Matreya. So then Geshe, pointing to his altar, that painting up there is one form of Matreya Buddha. So here we have a statue, see behind me here, there's a statue of Matreya Buddha. There's, of course, if you've been to Kurukulla, there's a similar statue in the Kurukulla Gompa there. So Matreya Buddha, the painting up there, and the little statue to the left side of Lama Tsongkhapa is Matreya Buddha. So we also have a little Matreya Buddha statue. I don't know if you can see it there on this small thing here. So there, as I've said, we have some tsatsas, and there's a wicker box which is full of images, different holy images, and then behind that there's a set of 100,000 Buddha images. It was made by our center in Singapore, and then on top there's a small statue of Matreya Buddha. So Geshe had a little statue of Lama Tsongkhapa, I guess, on his altar. So this is a little standalone thing with all these images. And then when we find insects that we want to take outside, or our animals, the rabbits or the cat, you know, we sometimes circumambulate them around that to bless their mind. You know, if you have your regular altar, which is back against the wall, unless you circumambulate your house, you can't really circumambulate that altar. So we have a little standalone thing here that you can take insects or animals, and as you're doing that, you take yourself around it, of course. I once, everyone knows what a lazy Susan is. It's, you know, that thing that spins around on the table that you put, I think you see them especially in Chinese restaurants, you know, they bring out all the dishes and you spin around and everybody grabs whatever they want. So, Bob, you're an engineer, aren't you? You know, I wanted to, so the Tibetan word for merit is sonam. So I wanted to create something called a lazy sonam. So in the middle, there'd be a stupa or some other holy objects. And then around it, you know, maybe you get an old turntable or something. And that this thing would spin slowly around this holy object. So it'd be like circumambulating and, you know, driven by electricity. And then if you find insects like ants or mice or whatever, you could put them in it before letting them go outside. You could put them on this thing, and so you wouldn't have to walk around the thing yourself. You know, you could just put it there, and then go away and watch TV, and then then the machine would do the work for you, of circumambulating whatever sentient being you put on there to bless that sentient being's mind. You know, and I could. You know, someone tried to make a prototype once, but it didn't really work. And eventually I gave up. But the idea is still out there in the ether. So the lazy sonam. Most of my good ideas don't come to fruition. Of course, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, because it's better for you if you actually do the circumambulating, because then you get circumambulating yourself as well. I mentioned it to Lama Zopa Rinpoche and he never really picked up on it either. So, okay. Buddha Matreya is the lord of this abode, Toshita, but is not like a worldly lord, like a king or ruler of the country. He is the Lama, the master of all those bodhisattvas and other beings who live in this world. He is constantly turning the wheel of Dharma for the sake of beings who live in Toshita and the other bodhisattvas who come there from other worlds to receive the nectar of Buddha Matreya's teachings. At present, in this world in which we live, the Dharma of Buddha Shakyamuni is still flourishing, but this will gradually degenerate and completely end, after which a new era of Dharma will start. That will begin by Buddha Matreya appearing in this world. Lama Tsongkhapa is, in one way, as I explained before, the combined form of all the attributes of Buddha Matreya in nature. But at present, he's in Toshita in the form of a bodhisattva called Jampel Nyingpo, remaining there in that form as a chief disciple of Buddha Matreya. So Lama Tsongkhapa is there in the form of a bodhisattva. Also, Lama Atisha is also there. No, that's wrong. Lama Atisha is also there in the, I think place shouldn't be there, is also there in the form of a bodhisattva called Namka Trimame, another chief disciple of Buddha Matreya. But although Lama Sumati Kirti, which is Losang Dragpa in Sanskrit, is in, but although Lama Tsongkhapa is in, so Lama Tsongkhapa, Losang Dragpa was his monk's name, Losang Dragpa, Sumati Kirti in Sanskrit, and Tsongkhapa, Tsongkha is the onion land, apparently where Lama Tsongkhapa originally came from in Amdo, was where they grew a lot of onions, where they grew onions. So Tsongkha means onion land or something like that. Tsongkhapa. So he's the man, you know, the pa means person. So he's the person from the place where onions grow. Although Tsongkhapa is in Toshita at the feet of Buddha Matreya as disciple, as prince of the devas there, other manifestations of him are also in many different forms in many different worlds. Even in this world, there are countless forms of Lama Sumati Kirti, Tsongkhapa, helping sentient beings. There are many scriptural sources, stories, and reasons to prove that Lama Tsongkhapa is presently with Buddha Matreya, but I won't explain them at this time as it would take too long. Practicing the Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa is of great benefit because it establishes a great relationship with Lama Tsongkhapa, Manjushri, and Buddha Matreya as well. It becomes a preparation for us to be able to reincarnate at the feet of Buddha Matreya when our present life ends and continue towards accomplishing our goal in Toshita. So, you know, that's another huge benefit of doing this practice. And, you know, that's one of the important prayers that Geshe Tsulga put in, that we do at the beginning of these sessions. You know, possibly for a lot of us, that's the only time we do it. When practicing this Guru Yoga, we invite or invoke Lama Tsongkhapa from the heart of Buddha Matreya. I'll explain from the beginning what we must do in this Guru Yoga, including the preparation. So to practice this Guru Yoga, you should first clean your place, the environment in which you're going to meditate. So as I mentioned last week, and just skipped through them, but there are these 6 preparatory practices that are given in detail in Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. So it's important to study those preparatory practices. Clean your place. Then if you have a tanka, a statue or picture of Lama Tsongkhapa to serve as a base or an object of your meditation, that would be highly beneficial. So when we do this practice, we have to visualize Lama Tsongkhapa coming from Toshita. So if we have images or a tanka of Lama Tsongkhapa, then it makes it easier to visualize. At the front of the altar, in front of that, you should arrange your offerings nicely. Place everything in a pure, proper, and correct way. The water offerings, flour, incense, light fruit, and so on. So we do the offering bowls there, you know. Then sit facing the altar, and you should do 3 prostrations. Then sit facing the altar and begin your practice by inviting Lama Tsongkhapa from Toshita from the heart of Buddha Matreya, and then make the offerings prostrations of the following limbs. So you saw in that painting briefly that, you know, Lama Tsongkhapa is emanating on a white cloud that comes from the heart of Buddha Matreya. However, it's not enough just to invite the deity. You must also make certain preparations from within yourself. The best such preparation is to take refuge in the triple gem, Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and generate bodhicitta. So he says, so there's this prayer similar to the, we do in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge. So this is similar, I go to the triple gem for refuge, liberate all sentient beings, lead them to or establish them in the stage of Bodhi. For enlightenment, I'll perfectly generate bodhicitta. So it's a similar prayer to the one we do. I'll not explain refuge and bodhicitta in detail because I've already explained these in previous teachings. I think the previous year, 74, Geshe Rabten gave quite an extensive commentary at Toshita Center on Guru Puja. I think that's online. May even be on our website, teachingsfromtibet.com. I'm not sure about that. First, we take refuge in the triple gem. So I've talked about that translation of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, triple gem, Konchok Sum, Lama Zopa, refers to the three precious sublime, or three precious sublimes, or three precious sublime ones, which is a more literal translation. After taking refuge, what we wish and are willing to do is liberate all sentient beings from all suffering. Therefore, so it says, he's giving a commentary on this verse now. I go for refuge to the triple gem for refuge. I will liberate all sentient beings. The second line is, by liberating all sentient beings from suffering, then where will we lead them? To what kind of stage? It's to liberation or nirvana that we wish to lead them. So it says, and lead them to or establish them in the stage of Bodhi, full enlightenment. So this nirvana is not the ordinary nirvana of the arhats, of the Hinayana arhats, but it's the ultimate Bodhi stage or awakened stage of Buddhahood. Therefore, the third line is elaborated. And for that purpose, to liberate sentient beings from suffering, lead them to the stage of enlightenment. Then what I'm going to do, comes in the next line. We should recite the above three verse. I will perfectly generate bodhicitta. We should recite the above verse 3 times, not only repeating the words, but contemplating the meaning deeply. So that's what we should do when we start our practice. And we do it at the end, but where we says that by listening to teachings and other perfections, I should quickly reach enlightenment, something like that. So we do it 3 times. After this comes another verse, blessing the place or the environment. So again, this is part of transformation from ordinary to special. So we shouldn't see our place just as an ordinary house, or ordinary apartment, or ordinary room, or but as a pure land. So everywhere may the ground be pure, free from the roughness of pebbles and so forth. May it be in the nature of lapis lazuli and as smooth as the palm of one's hand. So when we're visualizing our pure land, they're always talking about lapis. The ground is like lapis lazuli, which is it's precious, semi-precious, blue-colored, turquoise-colored stone. So we think, well, that'd be hard, But actually, when we visualize a pure land, even though the ground is the color of lapis, and often you'll see teachings where the ground is not only lapis, but it's inset with gold images of like the 8 auspicious symbols and other precious things. You wouldn't put Dharma teachings or mantras or something in there because you have to walk on it, so you don't want to walk over teachings. But it has inset into it different, not holy objects, but symbolic objects. But it's not hard like the stone. It's springy, sort of like a rubber mattress. So when you walk on it, walking is sort of fairly effortless, and it puts a spring in your step. like that. So that's how we visualize the ground in the Pure Land as very blissful and comfortable to walk on. But in the nature of lapis, I guess it means sort of precious ground. And as smooth as the palm of one's hand. Well, mine's pretty wrinkled at this point, but I think if you put as smooth as a baby's bottom, it wouldn't really work that well in the prayer. But you get the idea. So that's the blessing of the ground, a place where you're meditating. Then there follows, so that's a common verse. And so is the next one. So, purifying the place, Lama Zopa called it, and making these offerings. So there follows another verse to bless the offerings. May human and divine offerings actually arranged and mentally created. So as we said before, there's the actually arranged means the things that you put on your altar, the water bowls, the flowers, the fruit, whatever you're offering there on your altar, the incense, but we don't put that on the altar, we put that on the floor so the ash doesn't get all over the altar. And then, but we don't leave it at offerings at that. Then we visualize the space full of Samantabhadra's offerings, all the most precious things. I think we went through that last week. Clouds of the finest Samantabhadra offerings fill the entirety of space. So as infinitely as you can envisage offerings, you envisage that. And also there are places you may have been, there are certain centers, like in Singapore at Amitabha Buddhist Center, they do very elaborate offerings. And there are other places like Lama Zopa Rinpoche, his house in Aptos in California, they have very extensive, beautiful offerings on the altar, all over the house actually. And he has a retreat place in Washington State and Amitabha Pure Land. And so they're extensive offerings. So the people who live there make these offerings every day. So you can think of those specifically and other places. Lillian too, Lama Zopa Rinpoche's student, the feng shui expert, who has incredibly beautiful house in Kuala Lumpur, and she has most precious. She has beautiful tankas everywhere and offering bowls, and all kinds of precious offerings all over her house. So you can visualize those and offer them. She won't mind. And whatever you can visualize and offer, the more, the better. And we offer, to Lama Tsongkhapa, but also to all, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche would say, statues, stupas, and scriptures of the 10 directions, and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times, and all these holy objects to which we're offering, as well as Lama Tsongkhapa and Matreya Buddha and so on. All these holy objects, we have to remember, are manifestations of our Guru's holy mind, which is one with the Buddha's omniscient mind. So always remember Guru. So, this may sound a little odd or strange if you're sort of just coming into this, but eventually you'll see the importance. Because I'm still waiting for that day to happen, but that's what I've been told. There are 2 purposes of meditation. One is to purify all obstacles and interferences. The other is to grow and develop all the inner qualities, not inequalities. Blessing of the environment, preparing the pure ground or place for your meditation, symbolizes purification of the obstacles, all the inner roughness, purifying our mind. Making infinite offerings to the Buddhas, remembering the manifestation of the Guru, symbolizes infinite development of all the inner qualities and richnesses. So purification and creation of merit. Now, the actual visualization of this Guru Yoga will be explained according to this illustration. So, which we just looked at. If you can find such a picture, it'll be beneficial. So the FPMT have a little booklet, which that image that we looked at is from the cover of that, but I picked the wrong link, so it wasn't very clear. But if you have that booklet on the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, the actual practice, which we should do, is contained in that booklet. And that might have been what I was talking about 3 years ago when I did 2 or 3 classes on that, on Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, going through that booklet. But so even if you have that booklet, the cover has a picture of the visualization that we're supposed to be imagining. If you can find such a picture, it will be beneficial. The place above Lama Tsongkhapa is the Toshita abode, the abode of Buddha Matreya. The actuality of this abode is beyond painting and drawing, but to symbolize this actuality, we see some radiance, clouds and things like that around the palace. So again, when we do these visualizations, they're not, physical objects. We imagine them, but they're not made, there's not an atom of material in them. They're all made of light, radiant light, and they're not flat like when we look at a picture, but they're 3-dimensional. So sometimes if you're trying to do a visualization of a deity, like if you want to spend some time, so if you visualize Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 disciples in front of you, then you might imagine actually circumambulating your visualization and trying to see it from the side, from the back, from the other side, and then again from the front. So it's radiant, so light's coming out of it, and it's 3-dimensional, and it's kind of dynamic. When we visit, Lama Tsongkhapa and Kedopche and Gyaltse, they're like living, breathing people. It's not static. The Toshita Pure Land is not dependent on the light of the sun or moon. It does not have to be illuminated by some other astrological body. It's illuminated by the radiance of the beings that live there. The central figure in Toshita is Buddha Matreya. He's shown demonstrating the Dharma Chakra Mudra, I think something like this. The gesture of turning the wheel of Dharma. But he's not sitting cross-legged, but on a chair. So you can see he's kind of sitting up. There are different aspects of Matreya. The future Buddha Matreya is usually shown sitting, but the Bodhisattva Matreya aspect sometimes is shown in the cross-legged position and not in Toshita. Anyway, that's for a different purpose. The significance of this special position is that it shows that he's prepared to get up soon. He's not fully relaxed, settled, or firmly seated. He's just about to get up and come into this world as the successor of Buddha Shakyamuni. Showing the Dharma Chakra Mudra means that he's constantly turning the wheel of Dharma for the benefit of sentient beings now, and also after life in this world, and also after life in this world. So even after he passes into parinirvana, like Buddha Shakyamuni, he'll still be turning the wheel of Dharma. There are also some smaller figures to each side of Matreya Buddha. Atisha on one side, and Lama Tsongkhapa's Nyingma Lama, Lodrag Namkhe Gyaltsen. These are the chief disciples, and there's also a great assembly of bodhisattvas and many other beings surrounding Buddha Matreya, receiving Mahayana teachings from him. After taking refuge, generating bodhicitta and purifying the place, blessing the offerings and so forth, so these preliminary practices, we begin the actual Guru Yoga by inviting Lama Tsongkhapa from the heart of Buddha Matreya. So we do, from Toshita's hundreds of gods protect us in, whatever it is. So pure heat like curd-like cloud. So the cloud, again, it said curd-like because, they had really good yogurt in Tibet. It was very thick and heavy. And, the stuff we used to get in Nepal and India was always very watery because the people who sold it kind of diluted it. But this thick, white, heaped curd-like cloud. So from the heart of Matreya, I'll let Geshe-Rabten do the talking. This is, what I'm going to say is it's described like thick curd-like cloud, but again, it's just made of light. It's radiant white light. There's not an atom of matter in it. Like anything we visualize. It's just mind. This is the invitation. Ganden is Toshita in Tibetan, and Lhagye literally means hundreds of devas of Toshita, 100 being not literal, but meaning very many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Gon, so now he's talking about the Tibetan prayer here. Ganden Lhagye Gongi Tuk Ka Ne. Gon means Lord or Savior or Protector. So the one who is the Lord of the 100 devas of Toshita is Matreya Buddha, who is Lord not in the sense of a worldly Lord leading a country or an area, like a warlord, but in the sense of being the spiritual master, leader or guide of all those beings. When we meditate here, it's not that we're inviting Lama Tsongkhapa with strong devotion, but up there, Matreya Buddha and the others are paying no attention to us and just keeping themselves busy with whatever they're doing. It's not like that. So we're inviting Lama Tsongkhapa, but Matreya and all these other beings that we mentioned, the way we should meditate is that they're all paying full attention to us, completely involved with what we're doing. All the bodhisattvas and Buddha Matreya in particular are looking directly down at us with radiant smiles, with much affection and love, looking at us, ready to help. So, when we do the Guru Shakyamuni Buddha meditation, when we visualize the Buddha, it's the same. His eyes, we always visualize him looking at us with love and compassion and with a smile, kind of, he's not laughing, ha, ha, ha. It's kind of like a Mona Lisa smile, suggestion of a smile, but with a look of willingness and readiness to help. Whatever you need, I'm ready to give it to you. The problem is that we have this block because of our negative karma. So, the power of the Buddha and the power of karma are sort of equal. So the Buddhas can only work with us according to our karma. If it weren't for that, we'd all be enlightened already. If our karma didn't matter, there's hundreds of billions of Buddhas since the beginning of this time have been trying to get us enlightened. But because of our, obstinacy and our ignorance and our delusions and our karma, which we create out of that ignorance and obstinacy and so forth, we set up these obstacles, these blocks ourselves. So that's what the Buddhas have to work with. So, it's a tough job, but they're up for it. Ready to help. Tukar ne in the front means from the heart. This is where Lama Tsongkhapa comes out from. First, a pure white radiant cloud, which is in the nature of compassion, emanates from Buddha Matreya's heart or holy mind, the love that Buddha Matreya has for sentient beings of this world. So Matreya means, the loving one. That's the essence of Buddha Matreya, is a love for all sentient beings. Jampa in Tibetan. It's not just an ordinary cloud, but one with deep meaning, symbolizing the purity and perfection of his great compassion. It should be as white and radiant as possible and very thick, like a heap of fresh white cloud. Curd. Like a heap of fresh white curd. That's what it says. Sho. See the word sho there? Z-H-O in the Tibetan. If you go back up. Sho. Rabka sho. Sho is the Tibetan for yogurt or curd. The thickness of the cloud symbolizes Buddha Matreya's strong love and compassion for sentient beings. It springs out and rolls down and remains there in front of us. If you meditate and practice seriously, you sit quietly in your room, read the words slowly, then visualize as clearly as possible with all your effort. The cloud rolls down and stops in front of you. At its end, there is a large heap of cloud. This is like preparing the way and the seat. So I think, you've seen, if you haven't seen the actual thing, you've possibly seen disaster movies of the avalanche, slowly coming down, the big white mass of snow. So it's might be a bit like that. So this is like preparing the way and the seat. So in front of you, there are three big heaps of clouds. On the central cluster is a golden throne decorated with precious stones. To each side of it, there is a lower, smaller throne. The golden throne is supported by 8 lions. So these are 8 snow lions, and white with green manes, standing on 2 at each corner, supporting the throne. So they're also visualized as living, breathing animals. And on it are a lotus and a moon disk. Then, after visualizing this cloud, when we recite the last 2 lines of this verse, Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 chief disciples or spiritual sons, Gyaltsab Rinpoche and Kedrup Rinpoche, emanate from the heart of Buddha Matreya. Lama Tsongkhapa is the emanation of the wisdom of all the Buddhas. Gyaltsab Rinpoche is the emanation of the compassion of Matreya, and Kedrup Rinpoche is an emanation of the power of Matreya. These 3, master and spiritual sons, So they're called the Yabse Sum. It doesn't use that in the Tibetan, in this prayer. They're called the Yabse Sum, the father and his sons. And they all wrote texts. I think there are 38 texts in the collected works of Lama Tsongkhapa and Khedrubje and Gyaltsabje. We have them at the center. I think maybe 18 out of the 38 were written by Lama Tsongkhapa and the others by Khedrubje and Gyaltsabje. So these three master spirituals come down the white cloud. They spring forth instantly and come down effortlessly without any difficulty. So they're like being completely tired after a long journey with heavy luggage on their backs. Not like that. They come down instantly, suddenly, spontaneously. So you visualize this cloud coming down, and then immediately there are these with the three thrones, and then immediately Lama Tsongkhapa and Gyaltsabje and Khedrubje appear on them. Lama Tsongkhapa and his two chief spiritual sons are one in nature, but when the compassion of Lama Tsongkhapa takes form, it is on his right side, our left, as Gyaltsab Rinpoche, and when his power takes form, it's on his left side, our right, as Khedrubje Rinpoche. But all three are one in nature. And beyond that, they're all in the nature of, they're all actually manifestations of our Guru's holy mind. Therefore, when we practice this kind of Guru Yoga, it helps us accomplish all three attributes of the Buddha: wisdom, power, and compassion. Lama Tsongkhapa is called the King of Dharma, not because he's some great monarch who rules over many subjects, but because he's an emanation of the wisdom of all the Buddhas. Fully accomplished wisdom is that which rules over all of Dharma. Therefore, Lama Tsongkhapa is called the King of Dharma. It's similar when he's called omniscient in Tibetan. Kunkien means one who knows all, because Lama Tsongkhapa is an emanation of the wisdom of all Buddhas. He is omniscient. Nothing is hidden. So in the verse it says, Chöki Gyalpa Kunkien Losang Drag, the King of Dharma, omniscient Losang Dragpa. Nothing is hidden. He's omniscient. Nothing is hidden from the Buddha mind. Losang Dragpa is his human name, his Dharma name as a human being, his monk's name. So we are requesting the assembly of all three master and spiritual sons to come down and remain in front of us. So the actual way to accomplish wisdom, the method to employ wisdom, the method to employ comes at the end of this Guru Yoga, where the Guru mantra of Lama Tsongkhapa is recited. So that's the Migmate Se Wei Se Chen Chen Rezi Jimegimo, that 5-line prayer that we recite. So there are 7 different visualizations, 7 different kind of wisdoms that we invoke with different visualizations when we recite that. So when we do the retreat, reciting it 100,000 times, or actually we do 110,000, or if you're doing counting on your mala, there's 108 beads. So if you do 100,000 recitations using your mala, 100,000 malas, then you do 108,000. So the extra is to make up for mistakes done. So if we did a bare 100,000 because of all the mistaken ones, it wouldn't really be complete 100,000. In my case, if we did 108,000, still wouldn't be complete. I think if I did 200,000, still wouldn't be complete. But you have to draw the line somewhere. So usually when we do 100,000 recitations in a retreat, whether it's 100,000 Vajrasattva mantras, or 100,000 Lama Tsongkhapa Guru mantras, or 100,000 Manjushri mantras, which doesn't take that long. That's like 6-week retreat, similar to this one actually. We always do 10,000 or so extra, just to make up for the really egregious ones. So so this Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga is one of the 9 preliminary practices we do in the Gelug tradition. So we do 100,000 prostrations, 100,000 refuges, 100,000 purification Vajrasattva mantras, 100,000 Guru Yoga, 100,000 mandala offerings, 100,000 tsatsas we have to make, 100,000 water bowl offerings, 100,000 fire pujas, jinsek. We do dorji, damsik dorji, and 100,000 samaya vajra. Sorry, 100,000 jinseg with dorji kadro, and 100,000 samaya vajra, which is especially powerful to purify broken tantric vows. So there's 9 preliminary practices. So this is, to do this Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga is to accomplish the Guru Yoga preliminary practice. So if we're embarking on a 3-year retreat, so we talk about difficulty of doing 3 months, multiply that by whatever to get to 3-year retreat. But, a lot of people have done them. Actually, it's ideally a 4-year retreat, because you spend the first year doing all these different preliminary practices to really prepare your mind for the 3-year retreat to gain realizations. And, that's sort of an ultimate practice that, probably most of us can only dream of. Although, our time is in our own hands, So, if we made sort of a timetable of how we spend our day, that's a reflection of our mind, what we think's important, what we actually think's important, actions speaking louder than words. So if we want to know what we really think is important, if we wrote down how we spend each hour of the day, then that shows us. Personally, I'm too scared to do that, but if anyone's brave enough, you can get to know your own mind by writing down how you spend the day. And, Lama Yeshe used to say, if you want to spend your day constructively, make a timetable and stick to it. So, you break your day into hours or 2-hour blocks or whatever, and then write down what you're going to do, and then do it. That's the start of making your mind really meaningful. And then in those, you do different practices, as well as the regular things you have to do, like eating and sleeping and your work or whatever you have to do. Of course, that all has to fit in. But whatever these actions are, they can all, the beauty of the perfect human rebirth is that we can do all these worldly actions as well as our Dharma practice with bodhicitta. We can transform all our ordinary actions into the path to enlightenment by practicing what Lama Zopa Rinpoche calls, bodhicitta mindfulness, being mindful, remembering to do all these actions with bodhicitta. So I think I thought I'd finish this today, but the road to enlightenment is paved with good intentions, to mangle the expressions. So I think we'll continue next week. And I hand it over to our Master of Ceremonies to do the dedication prayers. So, what we're doing here, remember, we generated bodhicitta at the beginning. We've been discussing this amazing teaching by Geshe Rabten. So those two parts of the three are completed. So motivation, action, and dedication. So, so we've created a lot of merit. So we don't want to destroy that later on. So we'll dedicate it to protect it. And again, remember that these three things, motivation, action, and dedication, are interdependent phenomena. They're not inherently existent. They're empty of inherent existence. So we do these dedication prayers, remembering emptiness. So in doing that, then our dedication becomes a way to the cause of escaping from cyclic existence and reaching enlightenment. Thanks, Bob.
Saji perki jukching me tok tram ri rab ling jini de gien pa de sange jing du mig te owa di drokon nam dag jing la chur par shu je tsun lame kutse rab ten ching nam ka trin le chok chur ge pa dang lo sang ten pedren me sa sungi dro wei mun sel tak tu neg yur chig idam guru ratna mandalakam niryatayami. From my two collections, vast is space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind's wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded course to enlightenment completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Majjhima's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Through this virtue may I swiftly having gained Guru Buddha state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious supreme Bodhi mind, may it where unborn arise, and where born never decline, but increase forevermore. Mig mate se wei ter chen chen rezi, dream ken pe wang po jam pel yang, gang chen ke pe su gen song ka ba, lo san drak pe Jabla Solwa De.
Amen. Okay, thanks you all. Just also dedicate to the recovery from cancer for Venerable George Churnoff, one of FPMT senior monks. He's ill from that at the moment. I think it's his translation of the Heart Sutra we recite. Anyway, the official FPMT version is translated by him, Venerable George. He's down in Asheville, North Carolina. And, very knowledgeable, learned monk, who's been very serious in his study and his practice. So just dedicate for him. And of course, any of your friends or family or animals or pets you want to dedicate for, do that in your heart, from your heart. So hopefully finish this next week, and the following week, I think the 7th of November, I won't be available, but I'll tell you what to do then next time. So see you all next week, or some of you maybe sooner than that.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Bye.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Everyone, thanks, Nick.